Sorry. Okay. Today we will be learning Yemech Hashem, Dafim Hemad Aleph. We need to just remember a bit from Daf Mem Dalad on the base. So, in Mem Dalad on the base, we had a machlokes between Abaya and Rabbi, whether you can have Havlos Tchumin. Is there such a concept as Havlos Tchumin? Havlos Tchumin means that if one Tchum enters the other Tchum, if you have one Tchum enters the area of another Tchum, do you say that since you have entered with permission into the other Tchum, so you have Tchum A and Tchum B, and they're both for the same person, obviously. And so since Tchum A enters into part of Tchum B, which belongs to the same person, so therefore once he's already in Tchum B, he can then, and is there with permission, he can already use the rest of Tchum B. Or do you say, or is there no such thing? So there's no such thing that if you have Tchum A, you cannot use the Tchum A as a stepping stone to use the rest of Tchum B, which is not covered by Tchum A. So the Gemara is sort of at this stage says that there is no such thing as Tchum B, as Havlos Tchum. There's no Havlos Tchumen there's no concept of Havlos Tchumen, and you cannot use to enter into one Tchum because you have a different Tchum, and then use the other Tchum. That cannot, you can't do that. So the Gemara says, and if it's not the fact that he was there from the beginning of from Shabbos, from the beginning of Shabbos, because if he's there from the beginning of Shabbos, then the Gemara did find a scenario where you say Havlos Tchumin. But if it's a new Tchum, yeah. So the Gemara is sort of even Rabbi would have to agree that there is such a concept of Havlos Tchumin. If you had both of these Tchumin, you had them when the Shabbos began. But if the two Tchumin, one of them was not there when Shabbos began, one of them was not there when Shabbos began, then you do not say Havlos Tchum. So that's what Gemara is asking. And if it wasn't there at the beginning of Shabbos, when he was Koine Shvisa, he had both Tchumin. When he did not have both Tchumin, when he was Koine Shvisa in the beginning of Shabbos, then you do not say Havlos Tchumin. But now we learned the Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar says that if a person walks outside the Tchum Shabbos, the person walks outside the Tchum Shabbos, so he has 4 amas in which he can walk once he's left Tchum Shabbos. So Rabbi Elazar says if he's only 2 amas out, if he's only 2 amas out of the Tchum Shabbos, Yikones. So Rabbi Elazar says, that's the beginning of Daf Hey, Shtayim Yikones. That if the person has only walked only two amas outside the Tchum Shabbos, so then even though he's outside the Tchum Shabbos, so nevertheless he's able to go back in. Yikones, he coming. Gimel, if he went 3 amas outside the Tchum Shabbos, he can't come back in. That's the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. My love, is it not? What's the difference? 2 or 3 amas, the distance which is outside the Tchum Shabbos. So Rabbi Elazar follows his reasoning, which is actually at the bottom of the page. The Pinda Omar, that he's in the middle, because the person who walks outside the Tchum Shabbos, so he has 4 amas which you can walk. So Rabbi Elazar, he says the Mishnah, which is at the bottom page, that the Arba Amos which the person has, he is at the center, so he has 2 Amos to each side, in each direction, which he can walk. So therefore, and therefore, so if he went 2 Amos outside the Tchum Shabbos, so that means that, or a bit less, so that means when he walks to the end of the 2 Amos, he's already in the original Tchum. So if it's the original Tchum, so once he's there, he goes back to the whole Tchum, so he can use his Tchum, which was his original Tchum. If he's outside, if it's Gimel Amos, so then if he walks 2 Amos, he'll still be outside the Tchum. If he'll still be outside the Tchum, so then he can't get back into the Tchum. So let's see how the Gemara says it inside. It says, "Va'arba Amos the Yover Rabbanon command the Bilvodam." So the Arba Amos which Chacham gave him, as if they swallowed. In other words, one is on top of the other. They sort of overlap. The Midlandom, they overlap. So the Arba Amos which Chacham gave him, they overlap. What does it mean by that? That if he's only 2 Amos away, or maybe a drop less than 2 Amos away, if he's a drop less than 2 Amos away, so then the Arba Amos which Chacham gave him, they overlap, which the original Tchum, which he had the whole Shabbos before he walked out the Tchum. So they overlap. The Ka'amar, and it says Ikonis, that the person can go back into the city and everything. So we see have lost Tchumen, the overlapping of Tchumen. Milsi, there is such a concept of overlapping the Tchumen, because if the Tchumen overlap, so that once you get into the other Tchum, you can fully utilize it, even though it's not the Tchum from where you came from just now. So we see that it's such a concept of Havlas Tchumen, even though you didn't have both of these Tchumen when Shabbos started. Rabbi says, responds to Abaye, because the Abaye is the one who's bringing this proof to his opinion. He says, and asking on Rabbi's din. He says, and from Rabbi Lozer, you're going to ask Kasha on Rabbi, you ask Kasha from Rabbi Lozer. The Chacham disagree with him. The Chacham say that he cannot use the overlap to get back in. They cannot use the overlap to get back into his original Tchum. So he says, Abaye said, and yes, I am asking for Rabbi Lozer. Why am I asking for Shmili made the mark? Because I heard from Rabbi, when the Rabbanon argue Rabbi Lezer, only El Dvar Shus. They argue him beneged to the 2 Amos. That you can't get back in from if you walked outside. If it's a Dvar Shus, if you walked out, they're not for a mitzvah. But if you walked out Dvar mitzvah, so then he's made that he can go back in using the 2 Amos, using the 2 Amos, and going back in. They agree with him on that. So therefore, you see that the principle of overlap, everybody agrees if it's Dvar Mitzvah. If it's not Dvar Mitzvah. And our Mishnah, which we were talking about before, is talking about Dvar Mitzvah. Because it says Mishi Yotza B'Shus. He walked outside the Tchum because of Rishus. Why? He walked outside the Tchum. What Rishus do you have to walk outside because of the Dvar Mitzvah? To walk outside the Dvar Mitzvah. So therefore there is overlap. So therefore Abaye maintains it is a good proof that there is overlap in the Mishnah speaks about overlapping Tchumen, because the Mishnah is talking about Dvar Mitzvah. Okay. The Mishnah, sorry. The Mishnah says, the Mishnah, at the end of the Mishnah says, all those who go to save other people after they are done, they can come back. They go outside means outside the Tchum. So they can come back to the original place where they started from, the original city where they came from. Well, 1 second. They can come back. They come back to that place. So the Gemara says, I feel a tuva that even those who go to save somebody can go even a a long distance, like they went out, 10,000, 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers, with 10,000 amas. They walked out 10,000 amas. They're able to come back. They went to help or fight with somebody or whatever. So you come back, feel it to them. You said in the Reisha that a person who goes birshus for the mitzvah, goes outside the tchum. So the person goes outside for the mitzvah, goes outside the tchum. So you said alpayim amma v'sula, you have 2,000 amas. So normally the person outside the tchum, he has only 4 amas he can walk. You go, so the mission tells us you go to a mitzvah, you have 2,000 amas you can walk. But how does it? Oh, and now at the end of the mission it says you can walk back. How can you walk back? You just said before. He just said before that you have 2,000 amas. So it's a contradiction from the beginning of the mission to the end of the mission. So he said, so the answer, it doesn't mean you can't come back. You can come back, to your city. If you walked out, let's say to 10,000 amas, you walk 10,000 amas outside your city, you can't come back to your city. But what it means is that you're allowed to, that it's talking about that you're allowed to carry your weapons back to your place. If we're talking about this because of the issue of carrying a Shabbos, so if you go out for Dvar Mitzvah, so then you're allowed to go back you're allowed to carry the weapons with you till you go back to your place where you're going to be there, whatever that is. You don't have to leave the weapons where you did the battle or somewhere along the route. You can take it all the way back, to your place where you're staying there now. Okay, so that's the terrace. How can the you can't take it, you can't go back to your original place? So the answer is we're not talking about going back to the original place. We're talking about the din of Isser of carrying a Shabbos of weapons, that you can take the weapons back to be with you wherever you are. Okay. So that was a teretz. But the Gemara says, my kusha, what was the kasha in the first place? Dil Melahatzal Shiny, it may be that what the Mishnah says. That what the Mishnah says, if you got b'shus, you only have 2,000 amas. That's for all the mitzvahs. You went to help give a lady give birth, or the river overflow. You're trying to save somebody, same people. So then, if you're going for that mitzvah, so then you have 2,000 amas. But if you went to a battle, then you're allowed to go back all the way back to your city where you started from. Why? Because the enemy might come chasing you. And therefore, the safe area is to be back in your city. So therefore, the fact it says those who are going lahatzel means to go and do battle. Maybe lahatzel shiny is talking about those who go to be matzel and do battle. And if they do battle, taka, because there shouldn't be a counterattack, you can go all the way back to your city. So male's no kasha. Elo kasha. But if there's there is another kasha, and the kasha is going to be slightly different. The snan would do. The kasha is going to be from a different mission. From the mission itself, you can't bring a stirrup from one part of the mission to the other part of the mission. But from a different mission, you can bring a kasha in our mission. This now we learned in Rosh Hashanah, Masechta Rosh Hashanah, B'Rishayna, in the beginning, when people come to give edus for Kiddush HaChodesh, would come to Yerushalayim to say they saw the new moon. And so they would walk, you're permitted to walk, to come and to say that you saw the new moon. You're permitted to walk from outside the Chum, so therefore anybody who saw the new moon would come rushing to Yerushalayim, wherever the distance is. So it says, in the beginning, so they would go into a chotzer and they would stay in that chotzer. They would stay in that chotzer the whole day, the whole Shabbos, because once you walked outside the Chum, you only have the Aladamas. So that's why they would stay in the chotzer. In that chotzer next to where they would give them to eat and everything. Then his so Rabbi Gil Zaken, so he was masakan that they should have 2,000 ounces, right? Because he went out b'shus, because he went to do the mitzvah with informing Bezin of seeing the new moon. Not only in the case of Kiddush HaChodesh, somebody the midwife who comes to help him give birth. Somebody who comes to help from an enemy, which is Minanor from the river, Minamapolis from an avalanche, lake or fire. Once you get into the city, you came to do the Koch Nefesh and all these things. So therefore, you're like the Anshi. You come to the city, you have the whole city. They have 2,000 hours in resurrection. The Sulay. Sorry. So one of the things you mentioned over here is Gaius. Gaius is the when they go to do battle. So it says that the people go to battle, and the end, and the Mishnah then Rosh finishes off. You have 2,000 Amas, so it means they're not more. So the Suloi, not more, but Amras, which says in the Mishnah here in Eruvin, that all those who go to Mamasel can go back to their original place. That means the Chayr is mashma, even much more than 2,000 Amas. So it's a stereohysis from doing battle to doing battle. So the Rav said it's not the pshat. They can go back to the original city and the dinner of Tchumen. Just saying that wherever they're going to be, they can take with them the design and the isser of carry. That's what the last line in the Mishnah is, in our Mishnah is talking about. And that he brings Ketanya like we showed in the beginning. Why did it? How did it come about? The Chacham permitted them to carry the weapons on Shabbos after the battle is done, taking it back with them. Tanya will learn in the beginning that they would after they went out to battle, if they went out to battle on Shabbos, they would come back. They would leave the weapons in the house next to the wall of the city, outside the wall of the city. They didn't even enter the city. There's a house not far from the city, so therefore the Klizayin is reachable. So if in case there's anything happens, they can. It's next to the city, so they will be able to reclaim their weapons and go and use it if it's necessary. So that was the beginning. They'll bring it. So when they go out to attack, they come back and the bias of something. The enemies saw where they went, so they realized where they had come from and where they'd gone back to. They chased them, and they came in. Little Klizainon, and they came to take the weapons. So the enemies came and they started chasing them. So the enemies came to that city to attack the people who had made an ambush or whatever it was. So when they came to attack them, so right away the Jewish people went back to the thing to get the weapons and fight them off. Because they went into that house to take the Klizayin. But there wasn't enough time, and so therefore the enemies also entered. So the enemies went into that house where they saw where the weapons were. The kids, so there's a whole, they were all packed in dochkozeh, they were packed into the house, and it was the whole balagan. So what happened? So the Yidden themselves, they killed one another more because they're unable to move, etc. The whole balagan, they killed them. They killed amongst themselves more than the enemies killed them at that time. So, sorry, then the enemies killed them. More than the enemies killed them. So Shah at that time, like after that story, his skin of the made the konash. You can take the weapons back into your house, whatever it is, where you're staying. So therefore, there shouldn't be a repeat of such an incident. And they should have it ready with them, and they should be able, to use it there. Okay, so B'kitzur Hadvarim. So that is the basis for this Chayzin and Kaiman. What does it mean? That you take the weapons with you wherever you are and where you're permitted to go. You take the weapon and you don't have to worry about carrying. So that's one answer of the stereo between the Mishnah of Rosh Hashanah and our Mishnah. And Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar, like Kashi, he has to give this different answer. It depends who won the battle. Yeah. If the Jewish people were victorious and they overcame and they killed the enemy, no. So then they only have 2,000 amas because they went to do battle and they went out birshus. Therefore, even though normally you got tied to Shabbos, you only have 1,000 amos. Here they have 2,000 amos. But if the enemy were victorious over the Yidden, they didn't have to run away. You didn't have to run away. So then, for the safekeeping, they can go all the way back to their city. They don't have they don't have only 2,000 amos which escape from the enemy. And the lashon is not so almost means the word menatzeich the Yidden. It's lashon sagin. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav. Nochrim should tzoru our Yoretz Yisrael if the goyim come and they lay siege to a Jewish city. Ein yotzim lehem b'klizayin. So if they lay siege to a Jewish city, you don't go and find them. You're not mechal Shabbos. Because you're not mechal Shabbos, so don't to go and do battle with the goyim if they lay siege on a Jewish city. That's one price. That's Rabbi Yehuda Rav. And actually, it's not just Rabbi Yehuda Rav. It's actually a price like that. Tanya Namahochi, Nochim Shutzoru, etc. So there's a price which also agrees with the opinion of Rav that if the enemies lay siege to Jewish city, don't be mechal Shabbos to go. But then this is, I guess, the continuation of the price. If they come for money matters, there's a money argument about money things, so then you don't go and fight them on Shabbos. Is going to cautious, but if they're coming because they want to kill people, so then it's not because that they might take some money. It's not because it's the pekuach nefesh. So Yisem Aleim, so even on Shabbos, you can come to attack. You go with the weapons and Shabbos, Shabbos, right? So even Bechal Shabbos, so it depends where they come from. If they are arguing about some financial issues, so the worry that they'll steal some of your tvur or whatever it is, that can't be Bechal Shabbos. That's because the forces to do. Then you on Bechal Shabbos. But to be iras muchal esfar, if it's a city which is next to the border, so it's a city next to the border, I feel the border, that's going to function. Ella is going to tell the cash. Even if they're not coming to kill people. There's just some minor issue, some argument about straw. So even if this whole thing is about straw, and I guess the maximum will take a bit of straw, yotzim aleim b'klizainon, you go out with the weapons of machalins and Shabbos. Why? Because since it's next to the border, so if the goyim are permitted, they're able to attack, and they'll be able to get away with the money. They might start off with the money, but at the end of the day, they're opening up the Jewish defense because it's a border city. So they're opening up the Jewish defense. So therefore, it's considered pekuach nefesh and therefore you're permitted. So for whatever excuse, if they come with the weapons, you can go out and be mechal Shabbos, or if they are the attack is on a border city. Omar Rav Yosef bar Menyume, Omar Rav Nachman, and so they said, what did they say? Bovel kiras muchal esfar. That Bovel is like a city which is next to the border. It seems that there was the Yiddish issue. There were so many Jewish cities, and therefore an attack on the place called Bovel is like opening up the Jewish defense, even if they don't come for nefashos, come only for money matters. You can protect their Shabbos, and but Bovel is a bit, I guess, a general name. So Tirgever Nahardo, and it was translated, explained that it means Nardo. So Nardo, the city of Nardo, is on the border between where the Goyim are living and where the Jewish cities and villages are, and therefore Nardo has the din of a ir hasmucha l'sfar, border city. Right. So we see that you're allowed to be mechal Shabbos. You're allowed to be mechal Shabbos, even if they come for what? For money matters. Even minor financial issues. They're coming with weapons. If it's a border city, you can go out and be and mechal Shabbos. Yeah. Because why? Because it's considered pekuach nefesh. even though they're saying that they're only coming from one. Okay, so the story darshans this from Pasuk. The story that this halacha that iske kasher teven can sometimes be considered the koch nefesh. They said the minbiri he dashes the pasuk. Might it says the pasuk by Yagidol David. They told David in the plishtim mechamim bekiilo. The plishtim are fighting in Keilah. What they're doing? They mishaysim as a gronis. They're like they were robbing the gronis, the wheat, whatever it is, the goyim. So so what were they taking? They were robbing. They were attacking, but they were robbing the wheat. That's what. Yeah. Tana we learned Keilah ir hasmuch l'Sfar. That was a city which is next to the border. From the Pasuk, you see that the whole issue over there was financial. And what happened? David HaMelech went to do battle with them. So so David went to do battle. So went to the battle. So you see, because battle is put yourself in danger, serious nefesh. Why was that? Because why are you putting yourself in danger for a battle? Because it's considered pikuach nefesh. Even though the eshikash teven, that's what you go and fight. You go and fight the eshikash teven. Yeah, but the reason why he went to Meiser nefesh is because not for money, but because it's by iris for smuchal esfar. It's considered pikuach nefesh. But the story of the pasuk is that he asked Eibishter whether he asked the Eruvin, but Hashem, he shall go by Hashem. So he asked the Eruvin, should he go and fight? And the answer was, yes, go and fight, and you'll be victorious. So the Gemara says, Mike, what was his question? Why did he go and ask the Eruvin? He was, if you say he's shari also, it was permitted for him to go or not. Like maybe it was on the Shabbos, Shaila, in the Rashi says, Shaila is in Shabbos, he didn't know whether he should fight on Shabbos or not. That cannot be. Why? Because if you don't know whether it's Shabbos where you're supposed to go and fight, so then go to the Rabbanim. What are you going to the Kohen Gadol to ask? You have the Bez no Shmuel Ramasi. Go and ask them. Hello, so what when you ask the Urim whether he'd be successful or not. That's the question what it was about. The economy, you can see from the Pasuk also. It says that you'll be able to help Keilah. And others, they told him that you will be victorious. And others, that was probably a question. The question was whether you'll be successful or not. Somebody is sitting on the way. He's sitting, and so he didn't decide that he's going to be there Shabbos. He's not Chinish Shvisa. He just sat down on the way. He's tired and he's resting, and he gets up, and he sees so he didn't think that he's going to stay there for Shabbos. He was just and that he's going to be kind of shvis over here. He just he was resting, and then he sees that he's next to the city. The lawyer is hoyel somewhere. So since that was not his kavanah, so therefore he can't go into the city because he's not kind of shvisa in the city. In other words, the city is not his center. If you see, he was let's say 1,000 amos on the city. So there's 1,000 amos on the city. So he was sleeping there, and then he was sleeping there, and then he sees he was sleeping there, and it got dark. He was sleeping there. Let's say he went to sleep on Friday, and he's sleeping there. He wakes up Shabbos night. It's in the midnight of Shabbos, whatever it is, and he realizes there's a city there. So there is a city there. So he has 2,000 amos from where he was sleeping. Now the 2,000 amos, since it's 1,000 amos in the city, so 2,000 amos will end up somewhere in the middle of the city. Now we could argue that he's already in the tomb of the city because 1,000 amos in the tomb of the city. Therefore, his center is the city. Once you're in the Tchum of the city, the center, the city is your center. So if he sat down, when he entered into the Tchum, he said, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I come to the city. I'm staying in the city for Shabbos." If he decides in the city for Shabbos, so then in a chanami, you don't have to be in the city to get the city to be the Tchum. Once you're in the Tchum of the city and you decided that you're going to stay in the city for Shabbos, so the city is your center, and right. So and so you have the whole distance around the city as your Tchum. But since he's not mekavan to be koinish shvis in the city, that's what the machlokes is. According to Rabbi, if you're not mekavan, you're not koinish shvis in the city, and therefore you have to measure distance from where you're standing, 2,000. And if you go to Emery, you can go into the city and walk to the outside of the city because you're like part of the city. You can't say him doesn't mean just you can enter the city, because obviously you can enter the city because it's going to be within the 2,000. There's no question you can enter the city because even according to Mayor, you're within 2,000 out of the city. But it means, does the city become your center? That's what it is, right? And also the difference will be if you enter the city, your Tchum might stop somewhere in the middle of the city because you only have, say, you walk 1,000 amos, so you have 1,000 amos a city, and then the rest you can't walk. So and that's probably the intention of the word economist. Economist means you can go to the city and have the whole city. And according to Mayor, you only have that part of the city which is within your 2,000 amos. So Amar Rabbi Huda, yeah, there's the story of Tarfon, and he slept there and whatever, and he went into the city and he used the city. So therefore, they bring a right. The halacha is you can use the city as your center. You can walk through the whole city. Tanya learned the Bryce. Amar Rabbi Huda, Ma'aser Rabbi Tarfon. So again, this is the Bryce about some more detail about this argument. So Rabbi says there was a story of Tarfon going in the city. It was the journey. And it got dark. And so it got dark, so he slept outside the city. It was Shachris, it comes in the morning. The people who were pasturing the Bakar, they saw him. So maybe they were going or something. Yeah. But whatever, the Raya Bakar were over there. Maybe they just came to see how the Bakar are doing. Anyway, so the unrelated said to him, Rabbi, Rabbi, you have the city. They're going to come now. They can't go into the city. Why are you outside over here? So Nichnas, so he went in. The Yosef Beis Hamedrash v'darish kol yom ha'kurim. They gave the whole day. He was giving shiurim the whole day in the Beis Hamedrash. So therefore you see a raya that once you're in the Tchum, even though you did not have intention to make the city your base. Nevertheless, it becomes your base, and you can walk throughout the whole city, even though it's outside the 2,000 amos of your original distance. That's a raya. First of all, maybe it wasn't his intention. Maybe it got dark and it was, you can't dark. You don't want to stumble and fall all over the place. So therefore, he saw the city and decided he'll stay in the city, but the he had to lie down because it was too dark. He couldn't walk. Second of all, maybe the Besmedrash was still in the 2,000 hours from his distance, because part of the city for sure you're able to go in and pack it. Maybe did not use the rest of the city. There's no riot from over there.